Hello there, and welcome to the Theatre of Pies Series 1, Episode 1. And yes, we are back on the screens. We've probably got a voice for the radio rather than the tally or the screens here, but we are back and we're going to be talking about all things Kilmarnock. So you're with myself, Martin Wall, and Laurie Finlayson and Stephen Hopes as co hosts. So we'll go over to you, Laurie, first of all. How are you, Laurie? Is it excited to be back?
Yeah, good to be back. Feels great. Feels quite surreal to be back, actually. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not been the greatest few months for me, but good to finally be back.
Stuff and a lot has happened since we last spoke on doing all this. I mean, Neil McCann took charge. We went on a great run, finished the season well, signed some good players, got some great strikers in the building. We had a World Cup. We're less said about that at the bar. And yeah, we're here now, start of the season, So, Stephen, how are you? Excited for the season to start?
Yeah, very excited. New grass pitch, new training facilities. Ladies off to a flyer. So yeah, what's not to love? I understand you don't want to talk about Steve Clark and the World Cup. That's obvious. But we'll skip we'll skip over that. So yeah, bye bye Steve. But there we are. Gone but not forgotten.
It's been great, but we're gonna just really crack on and just talk about the season ahead. Yeah, I just mentioned and touched on it about the squad. It's totally revamped. It's changed completely. We're playing a better brand of football compared to last time. The better said the better. Can't even get my words out. I've lost my words. Anyway, the squad is looking a lot better. Where do you think we still need to improve? I think is it an obvious choice there, Stephen, on the squad?
Yeah, yeah, two big lumping centre backs. We've got Big Kirk in the building now to show them the dark arts. So that's for me. That's the obvious place we need to. Couple of centre halves definitely. I mean, again, there's obviously rumours about the German lad that's potentially left stroke right back. I think Bit Larson can play either side sort of thing. I think that's maybe in the days to come because just before we come on air, as we're recording here, I see the Dom Thompson news is confirmed officially now as well. So that might actually land a wee bit of coffers in for McCann then to maybe escalate things tomorrow or the next day sort of thing. So yeah, but I think it's pretty obvious. It's the defence we need to strengthen, isn't it? So yeah, let's hope the we were just maybe waiting on some of that money coming through as well, and we've earmarked a few. But yeah, no, on paper, what we've brought in the building, pretty decent, I think, so far. A few there that will want to maybe make names for ourselves. We'll become a sort of springboard club for them, which, listen, as long as it benefits us, then, and obviously the news with Big Joe Hugo putting an extension on him is a fantastic bit of business for the club.
Aye, great bit of business.
In terms of protecting their investment for a change, I think if he starts the season in like he did the end last season sort of thing, then we're going to receive some big bucks for him. So yeah, all good, all good.
Yeah, 100% on the Hoogle mention then. Laurie, so what's your thoughts on the squad? Are you happy with how things are shaping up?
Yeah, I think like Stephen said, we're quite pleased, pleasantly surprised, because we appear, and in fairness, we started this last summer, we appear to have kind of changed the way we recruit, and I think maybe Sam Morrow, the head of recruitment, deserves a bit of credit how we now appear to be casting the net a bit wider. Just look at someone like Rashawn Matherin, for example. Yeah, could a youth played at Crystal Palace, but he was playing out in Slovakia last year, and then we're just looking at different markets, or even the German defender that we're linked with. He's played in the German league all these days, and we've obviously went scouted this guy, targeted him, and it's quite refreshing actually.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, Laurie. I think we're so used to back when it was Derek McInnes and he was signing ex players that he had, and don't get me wrong, the players were good that came in and did a good job. The sort of players we're bringing in now, you've got a mixture of people that know how to do it in the Premier League, whether it's or they've had a good career down south, maybe in the lower leagues in the Championship or League One, League Two. But then you're getting players that are coming here that maybe haven't quite had the opportunity, like say Tyrese John Jules at Arsenal, Joe Hugel at Manchester United. Have had loan spells, maybe been injured and not had the luck that they wanted, and then all of a sudden they've managed to come in and have an opportunity here at Kilmarnock, and then the European sort of side of things. Again, that player you mentioned, Matheson, who's at Crystal Palace. He's then gone abroad, hit his trade there for a few months, and then all of a sudden he's getting a chance back here. So it is really, really good. And the age as well, I think he's only, 23, 24 there,
Yeah,
Laurie?
I put 23.
Yeah, so still young enough. And that's the thing is, I think that's the good model to go down because we need to start making some serious cash, don't we, Stephen, with players?
Yeah, absolutely. Who would have thought the Goth would have left as a legacy, having money in for Dackers and money for Thompson? The model obviously was, we all knew Dackers at the time was a project, wasn't it? And it was a matter of trying to get him, make him a player, and then get some money from him. Well, we achieved 50% of that at least. It's pretty good going. And obviously moving forward, it looks as if McCann's got a bit of, he knows what he wants in the positions, and quickly tying them down. I think we've seen that towards the back end, like Mayo and Watson, these players that weren't going to sign contracts. They just didn't play, did they? Under McCann. I think that was, we could see that, towards the end of the season. That was the way he was going to go. You're either invested and you're staying here, or we're going to go out. Yeah, he's shaping up the team well, and certainly by the look at it, we're certainly looking good. But exciting the next few days anyway. Certainly to as I say, with that money dropping, to see what happens. I think before we line up against St Johnstone, we might even have another couple in through the door, which would be good.
Yeah, defenders is key, like we've already mentioned. But I think Joe Hugel's a massive one, as you mentioned, with the extension, because that's the type of thing that can happen. Is you can have a player that comes in and has a massive impact, in which he did, and if he can carry that form on, say into the next few months before the next window after, then you could potentially be looking at teams sniffing around and putting in a big offer because of that extension. And that's where we've failed so many times in the past. I mean, we've talked about this on the chat between us, many of us. You can think of like players like Danny Armstrong, who we missed the boat on when his ceiling was quite high, and a lot of speculations about our player's not worth that much. But I always say that a player is worth, as it depends what the value is to the club. Some people will look at like players down south that have moved, and you think they're not worth that, but if a club's willing to pay it, I think we just need to stretch ourselves out a bit more and push for better money rather than just take for the first opportunity that comes. And I think Hugel at a good age, we would all love to see him play forever at Kelly, but let's be realistic. He is not going to be at Kilmarnock forever, so we need to enjoy what we have while he's playing, get him the best offer, and get him the best deal for him and for the club. For me, I don't know about you, Laurie, but I think 2 million has got to be the minimum if he hits the form that he did back into the season and scores a lorry load of goals.
Well, we were talking about how maybe we've changed the way we recruit. When you say £2 million, that just makes me think of Motherwell, who of course made brilliant money off of the likes of Just, for example, getting 5 million, Lennon Miller, even Callum Ward, for example, the goalkeeper going to QPR. We need to maybe try and go for the kind of player trading type model. We do appear to be doing it, even looking at some of the other signings, like Eric Ring, for example. We paid a fee for him. And maybe if we go back even 3 or 4 years and even delve into history a little bit, Kilmarnock were never a club for actually, spending fees. And Stephen mentioned, the Dominic Thompson monies came in. It goes both ways, and I think starting to be like that makes it a lot more sustainable. And I mean, Neil McCann so far, touch wood, appears to be the first manager to really have embraced that at Kelly. I'm just accepting scrimp, save, and get a freebie. We appear to have went for quality over quantity even this year when we need the rebuild, and I quite like that.
Yeah, it's true, and Thompson, Darkers, Beach as well, are players that we're looking at, and it's like they're not going to make us loads of money, but look, they've come in for nothing, and we've made a fair chunk of money from that already. So like you say, it's we're doing well in that respect. We just got to make sure that the top end of the player as well, like the players that like the Joe Hugels and that, we've got to be looking for big money from when the right time is right. But let's not talk about that for now, eh? let's not go too negative already. We want to enjoy it, season ahead. But this is I'm trying to think the last time we went into a season with a very exciting strike force. And what we have, we've got this young, was it Ayun? I can't even spell. Is it Ayun? Ayun?
Yeah, Yayan.
Yayan.
Think of it like Yaya Kolo Toure. We have two unlimited, no limits for when he scores.
I've actually butchered his name up completely. I'll just call him Owen. But he looks an exciting prospect from Wales. You've got Daniels, who showed early promise before his injury. And then you've got Tyrese John Jules, who was pretty much saved our season before his injury. And then you got Hugel, who we've talked about as well, who again, carried on the form of when John Jules got injured. So, having those four available, it's great. I can't remember the last time we had the strike force as exciting as that. Stephen, you probably go back further than me and Laurie. Can you remember the last time? Can you remember though the last time that there was an exciting strike force available to us?
I mean, the strikers has always been the Achilles heel for us, isn't it? You've got to go to Boyd and Naismith, haven't you? Who were product to ourselves, something, youth development sort of thing, to have a potent sort of strike force sort of thing. I mean, Daniels, he's going to be like a new signing in reality because he's out so long, isn't he?
Aye.
He's probably going to struggle to get into the team. If he's playing with a two anyway, it just depends how, looks like a diamond, doesn't it? So, if it's a two, then you've got to think Hugo and Tyrese will be the main men. But obviously, as you said, I'll just say the Welsh lad. I think he's young, shows a bit of promise. So it'll be exciting to see what he's got about him as well. So I suppose it will depend. Billy Dodds and McCann will see them in training, so they're going to see who's going to form the partnerships as such, aren't they? So, but I mean, that's sort of four strikers there that you're looking and thinking that's pretty strong, isn't it? So as I say, for me then the midfield's fairly decent as well. Whereas bringing in like say Tishbola again, up there with Stu Finlay, and the amount of times he wants to sign for us. Mark O'Hara coming in there as well, giving Rory another year as well. The midfield's pretty strong, isn't it? For me, it's definitely glaringly obvious that the defence is what we need to strengthen. It's good that we brought in the boy Ferry as well for a backup for Max as well, because again, obviously we've had our sorrows to seek over the last few years with keepers, which I'm sure none of us want to revisit. He looks like, I haven't seen him in the flesh, Ferry, but he'll possibly get the cup game, so maybe he'll get the Area United game. That's usually what they do. The sort of number two, isn't it? They give him this, the cup. Just depends what the agreement's been with McCann when he's came in. Yeah, the strike force is certainly pretty exciting, I would say.
I know, it's good. And the midfield was a concern because we lost a lot of players in there. Whether people liked them certain players or not. Watson obviously had a massive dip, and it was a bit disappointing for me the way Watson's career sort of tailed off at Kilmarnock, if I'm honest. That was the biggest disappointment because there was so much promise there and so much talk about him going for big money. And then it just sort of, he came in first season, obviously under a relegation battle, and was really a bit of a big difference, an unknown quantity. Then the season after, we don't even need to talk about that. It was a brilliant season, young player of the year, and you're thinking, right, this boy could go far, and then it just seemed to stop there and go down the way, and obviously, his career sort of petered out a bit, and played a fair amount of football for us still, fair few games, scored some big important goals, and go fondly and well remembered. But I just feel as though it's just one of those that there maybe missed opportunities along the way for Watson. What's your thoughts, Laurie? Because I know you sort of you're very fond of Watson as well.
Yeah, very much fond of him, and I think a lot of us Kerry fans are. But I think we can all agree with what you just said there, Martin. I think he's moved on at the right time. It started to kind of fizzle out. He's a player who I always remember fondly, and I must admit as well, we'll say on record, fantastic guy as well. But I think it's one of these ones where maybe we won't actually miss him as much as we all feared. Because again, as Stephen, you've alluded to, this summer so far, we've actually, got the likes of Mark O'Hara back in, of course, another academy product who went on to have a great career. Maybe he's quite comparable to Watson, actually, in a lot of ways. When you look at the career that he's went on to have, just thinking about it. And then, obviously, Tom Lowry becomes about 10 times the player now Aaron Tish-Bowler's here. And, yes, you don't know, but, best wishes to Watson, and obviously, as well, good luck to his younger brother as well, who at least was part of our academy setup. He's also been given a trial at Bolton to possibly go along with his brother. I don't know how that's went, but yeah, so obviously football runs in the family there.
Interesting. It is a disappointing one, and obviously we've lost loads of experience along the way with Polworth, Brad Lyons, who played a lot of games the last few seasons. But I think the time has come. Whether you like them or you don't, there comes an expiry date with people, and I think for me that this summer was sort of McCann's opportunity to put a rubber stamp on it, have his midfield in, and you can sort of see towards the end of the season who he was wanting to play towards next season. Hence, you mentioned the talks of Tom Lowry. For me, as a player that has gone from really a nobody in the squad when he signed, not really sure what he's sort of what he's doing there, maybe, to then coming in and having a big part to play in the end of the season, and a very important part. And the reports of one or two fans I've spoken to so far this season in the group games, he's played really, really well. And I do agree with exactly what you said, Laurie, that Tish Bowler coming in, his experience, and that just allowed him to play a bit more and looked more comfortable. So it is exciting to see Tish back, because it does mean that the players like Lowry will flourish, and O'Hara, he's going to come back to Kilmarnock with a lot of experience. A bit like the Kilty situation, coming back. He's come back after being away. Even though he's not old, he's got plenty of football under his belt now, because you always felt with Kilty that he was always leaving Kilmarnock to go on loan, then back again, play, back again. And O'Hara, like you said, has gone and had a bit of a career down south, come back, done 3 or 4 seasons at St Mirren. So, you know what you're getting with players like that as well. And then you've got these unknown quantities coming in, like Eric Ring, who looks an exciting player. Shevchenko, who obviously came in the window before. He looks an exciting prospect. Hopefully he'll flourish. And there's plenty of Schoening Larson, for me, is a proper footballer. Likes to attack.
He's been excellent.
He's, again, one of my favourite players during the course of back end of last season. And yeah, it's exciting, really. I mean, Stephen, go to you. Going with the last transfer window, which I thought was phenomenal in the January one when McCann got to bring in like Hugo, Schoening Larson, Shevchenko, and all that. Tish Bowler came back. You're thinking Curtis as well, Finlay Curtis, special mention to him. He's coming from a position where he's come in. We're thinking, right, just give it your best. Felt like he was one of ours, to then bang into the World Cup squad. Saved our season as well. Great window, and you're thinking surely he's not going to trump that, but you feel as though he's just building on that and adding more quality, like you say, Laurie, than quantity. And if you look at the contrast to the 2 windows, to the previous 2 windows, it's night and day. It's just brilliant, and I'm really looking forward to what you were saying, Stephen, about the potential of other players coming in. This German left back that were coming in. These are players that have, like I said, been at big clubs like your Bayern Munich, this lad has, Tyrese and John Jules, who I've mentioned already, at big clubs, not quite had that cut, but they're getting to get a bit of experience, and then they're coming up here and they're getting to play week in, week out. And it's great because we're going to be the beneficiaries of that. So yeah, Stephen, what do you take on that?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Also, when you mentioned young Finlay, obviously we also brought in Bailey Rice, who's he's got about the same sort of excitement levels as what Finlay had. Let's just hope that he can deliver something similar. I think Kilty, he was rejuvenated. Making him a captain's a great idea. The responsibility. Yeah. He's like Rory, he's a killy man. Hampered in his career, as we all know, with injury sort of thing. But he played very well last season. The January window, let's face it, pretty much kept us up. Had we not made the acquisitions that we did, and let's face it, Dodds and McCann, we wouldn't have got Finlay Curtis. That's the reality. I think probably a wee bit of ignorance on Rangers' part as well. I think Danny Rowe was probably misadvised as to what he had in the building, and it was a matter of getting him out and getting him playing football kind of thing. I don't think he realised how good he was until after, obviously, that he came here. So, yeah, if that window's anything to go by, we've now obviously had a pre-season under our belt as well under McCann, so that you've got to judge things on a kind of level playing field. So he's bringing in his own players, he's rebuilding the squad, he wants to play a style of football which we've already started to see, and the demands on the players are, Finlay Curtis can come here. He could probably even be a poster boy for guys that we are bringing in to say, McCann can say when he's selling the club. We've obviously now got a training facility, the first phase of it up and running as well. So again, that's going to help attract players along with the grass pitch. It's all positive for that point of view. It'll definitely be exciting to see once we kick off against St Johnstone as to how we actually are looking, and then we're probably going to be on here certainly as the season go out, and then try and second guess what he's going to do in terms of the formation. It's exciting, but as I say, if Bailey Rice can add something as well, then that'd be great. If you can find gems like that, they come in and play for us, even if they're only here 6 months, then the impact Finlay had was phenomenal. Can come and do something like that for us, and all better. And again, it'll make other players think about maybe Kilmarnock's a good team to be going and get some football in. So can only benefit us.
Yeah, no, I agree on that. And Laurie, what Stephen touched on there about the grass pitch and obviously the dynamics with the training facilities now, making us a better prospect. And with what Curtis did coming here, that that's going to say to sort of the Rangers management team, okay, Kilmarnock's maybe a good place to send our young up and coming loan players like Bailey Rice now. So what's your thoughts on that? Do you are you excited, obviously, first of all, to have the grass back?
Yeah, absolutely. We all know that Life on Plastic was fantastic, kind of paraphrase Aqua ever so slightly, but genuinely, and I see Stephen quite understandably shaking his head there, genuinely, it is great to have the grass pitch back, or to get it correctly in the club sort of wording, hybrid grass pitch, because obviously, to be fair, the club and the fans have kind of pushed the boat out so we can get a more I'm not going to call it state of the art. I'm not going to say something like clipped up, but a more kind of pitch that's to a standard. There was rumours that it was the same level as Chelsea's pitch, actually.
Right.
There's rumours of that, but
Yeah.
it's superb, and of course that's a credit to the board, a credit to the fan. I don't know if anyone listening here contributed to the Pitch In campaign, and of course the Kelly Trust put in a good bit of money to that as well. And I just think it looks really good, and I must say the pictures that have been shared by the club look fantastic. There is one I do know though, without giving too much away, there is one more finishing touch to happen, which will be in place for the Celtic game. So if you look around the sides where there's tarmac at the moment, that tarmac will be covered by blue AstroTurf. So it'll make Rugby Park look even more like Kelly's home.
Well, that'll look good. Yeah, I did hear that they were still finishing that off. So yeah, no, it'll look good. But as Stephen mentioned there, the fact that we can bring in better players, and it's clear to see. I mean, players are wanting to come now, and the window has gone to show, that we are having that success. And obviously, Bailey Rice coming in, it helps that Neil McCann and Billy Dodds obviously are going to have close connections with Rangers, and hence why they probably managed to get Curtis in the door in January. But if you flip that, he could have had a bad 6 months and Rangers would have been like, no, we're not sending anyone that way. But because of the impact he had, he went to the World Cup, his values rocketed up sky high. All of a sudden, that's a different type of Finlay Curtis they're getting back. So, they're probably looking at that and thinking, well, let's use that to our advantage. So, and it works in our advantage as well, because if we can get the best out of that player and get, it works both ways. So I really do think that if he stays clear of his injuries, I agree that he could be a big player, especially working alongside the likes of Tisbola with that experienced head. Tom Lowry, like I say, is an experienced pro as well. So again, these are it's a really exciting midfield. I would actually say our midfield, and it's no disrespect to like Brad Lyons, Liam Polworth, and the rest of the players, and even Watson and that. But I generally, as much as they were fine and they did the job at the time was confident to go. I generally believe that looking at our midfield now, we are 10 times better on paper the midfield than we had with them. And that's just no disrespect to them. It's just the attributes of the players we've got now is a different level. But we've all heard that it all looks good on paper, but it's all about coming to fruition on the pitch. Just got to hopefully wait and see. And I suppose that really sort of moves us on the pitch, because we have played 4 group games in the League Cup. It was a bit of a 6 out of 10, maybe. Fair play to the ones that have travelled up to Peterhead and Elgin, doing all 4 away games. I mean, obviously our friend of on here, David Hanna, he travels every game's an away game for him, but he's done the full slog, all of them. I seen a tweet yesterday actually, and it said Kilmarnock scored 2 goals, East Kilbride scored 13, yet Kilmarnock qualified. But hey, it's how many points are on the board at the end of the day. It's the luck of the draw, man. But it was a bit grim.
Aye.
Yeah, it was tough viewing. I watched
tough.
I watched the Peterhead game live. Oh dear, yeah, that was a. I mean, we hit the post twice, we hit the bar, but we were really slow, really sluggish. It looked like players had just started pre-season. And then you think we're playing St Johnstone on Saturday. So yeah, that was a slog, and albeit obviously we had to get beaten penalties, didn't we? Because you've got to keep your record where it's been.
19% now, 19% the lowest in Scotland.
Wow. I will say on the penalty record quickly, if anyone really wants to traumatise themselves with it, Scotland's coefficient, of course, on the X and on Substack, we can find out as well now, have really broken down the penalty record, not just for us, but for clubs across the country. And Stephen, to be fair, you mentioned just how slow the Peterhead game was. Trust me, Elgin was worse.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was lastminute.com when Big Joe Hewitt popped up at the very end. Yeah.
What I will say though is I've not been to any of the games due to I've not been able to go to the 2 home games because of the injury I had, and then the away games I had my 40th birthday party there at home yesterday with friends and that, so it was probably more exciting than watching the game. But having said that, I said after the Hamilton game, obviously it's a struggle, but we're not playing in our home ground, and even though that shouldn't really be an excuse, it sort of we know what Kilmarnock's away record's like the last few years. It's been terrible, so it probably does feel like an away game. The only concern is about that away record, because you're thinking of a morale boosting couple of victories in Elgin and Peterhead would do them well, but the fact that we haven't done that is a concern. But other than that, it is early pre-season. There is going to be a bit of rustiness. We're not playing on our own pitch. It's not as fast paced. I think that a lot of these teams will play that low block and will just make it all stuffy for you and make it hard to beat. Whereas in the Premier League, it's going to be completely different, a bit more open, and I think that's where your better players in your squad will shine. And I think maybe some players are just a bit worried about injuries as well for the league season. They don't take it as serious. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. But the League Cup just feels a bit, for me, the group stage. I don't know. It doesn't feel real, even though it doesn't feel real for me. It's the knockout stage that feels real, and obviously the knockout stage is going to be a good one because we've got the Ayrshire derby at home. United awaits. So yeah, that'd be good. So look forward to when that comes around. But yeah, I mean, I think I said on the group chat when we were talking about it not really panicking too much about the group stage.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to look at the positives in this situation, and we've kept 4 clean sheets. We've qualified. We've come top. We've not had any bad injuries either that have ruled players out for the league season. So yeah, there is concerns there about lack of goals, lack of chances created, maybe a bit of ill discipline. Brandon's challenge was a bit of a wild one the other night, but having said and done, we've qualified, and that's the main goal, was to finish top, and that's the second group stage season in a row where we've not conceded. So we've got to take the positives, and it's quite ironic considering we have got probably what we think as fans the strongest attacking lineup going into a season, yet probably one of the weaker defences. Yet the opposite has totally happened in that respect. But like I said, I'm not concerned at all too much. I'm quite happy still, quite positive going into the league season. I think it will be different. I think you've got to look at the other teams as well. St Johnstone, who we play next week, drew at home to East Fife and lost on penalties. St Mirren had a scare.
And St Johnstone got kicked out of the tournament as well. That's them done.
So exactly, and there's other surprises as well. So I think I think at least we've not lost a game, because that would have been a bit of a dent in the confidence. But the fact that we've gone and beaten come top is the main aim of the game. And you know what? Performances right now don't really need to be a concern either. See if we go next week to St Johnstone and are absolutely dominated off the ball, don't create many chances, but are solid, and then get a 1-0 win and nick it. Are we talking about that performance? No, we're talking about an away winning 3 points on the board. So I think that's the sort of way we've got to look at it at the minute. And obviously you want to play pretty football and look attractive and that, but as long as you're getting a result as well and you're sticking in there, I think that's half the battle. And at this stage of the season, you don't really want to be worrying too much. But if you start not to pick up points in the league and it does affect your performances, then that's obviously where my thoughts on the League Cup. What's your overall thoughts? How do you feel, having maybe seen highlights of the fourth game or gone to games, if you have gone to any? What do you feel about the atmosphere, maybe between the fans?
Yeah, no, well, the home wins, for want of a better word, just with work, I haven't got to those, so I haven't been to any of the games as such yet. I don't suppose I put a lot. I'm not saying it's a glamorised friendly, because as the start of the cup, but it's very, very early on to try and get players back together and get them to, even when we went across to Ireland and you're playing over there, you're thinking, how much can you really put into that as players going in 50-50 on challenge? Listen, we've got out of the group. We've only scored 2 goals, but we've got out of the group, and we've got a really good tie to look forward to. So that's definitely a bit of a carrot to dangle for the players there. The ones that mean, that know the meaning playing against were Ayrshire's other team. It'll be it's something to look forward to. We won ugly. Let's face it. I don't expect players to be firing. You'd be concerned if this was halfway through the season or whatever, and we're starting to, play, like as if we haven't played together for a wee while or whatever. Some of the combination work's been really good. I watched the Elgin one and I watched the Peterhead one live, and in both games, I think probably similar traits. We were putting lots of stuff together, but just the finished article wasn't quite there. So yeah, I wouldn't be overly concerned, to be honest. We go to, even you go away to St Johnstone on Saturday, you kind of think they're still probably not going to be quite at that level. So yeah, Celtic coming for our first home game is going to be. That's going to be where you're kind of going to have a look at players and think, well, come on, we need to be, but they'll be well fired up for that by the time that comes. But no, I think job done is what you can say about the cup campaign. For me, we got out here, we've done enough, and we're through a great tie, which we'll beat that lot on a canter, to be fair. So that's you got to think it. We're going to get a bit of progression in the cup without playing well. So we'll take that every day of the week.
Yeah, I mean the advantage of playing at home is we're going to be at Rugby Park for that one and not Auchinleck for the. I mean, it probably would have been better playing at Auchinleck because they like losing at Auchinleck, but so we might just ask to switch it for that one. Anyway, so Laurie, again, I guess you're delighted at the tie, Ayrshire derby. Can't nothing better than that, really.
Yeah, absolutely buzzing. Yeah, came in from Cross House doing the radio shift to find out that we've got Ayr at home in the draw. That was perfect. As we record, this is actually an Ayr United fan who's live on there right now. I tell you what, delighted at Rugby Park as well, because I think we can just show off our fabulous new pitch to them, and I kind of think, as you say, Stephen, we're going to, and it's not about winning out of cancer, because to be fair, Gary Naismith has come in and done well there if we're being objective and fair about it. However,
What?
however, a journalist in me, I do think with a pretty busy rugby park behind us, we will definitely go and get something and get a good result there, and something to really galvanise the fans properly. Because as we've alluded to, in the league we've got a tough start. I mean, St Johnstone away, which is actually a tougher day than you think, because all the momentum will still be with them, because they'll have to unfurl their flag. We'll remember we had to do this. And then, well, they've got the Celtic game. Whether we play Hibs or not is debatable. Well, that's up to whatever they do against in their European tie. So we need to try and build some momentum when we've got some challenges in our way. And I kind of think Ayr is the best way for us to do that, and the best way to get everyone totally on side. Even those that were doubting the League Cup campaign, I think that a win against Ayr is the best way to get everyone right firing on the same hymn sheet, really. And that's just the tie's just perfect. And as for the League Cup games that we've had, maybe it's been flat, but the results are what matters. Having only been at the Aki game and watched the rest live, apart from Raith Rovers, it was all very similar. But you know what? Job done.
Yeah, and I think the Air game sets it up nicely. It's early in the season still as well. It's that rugby part, like you say, a couple of league games in, and then you're sort of playing them. And it for anyone who's not got any season tickets yet, as well, if we start off really well in those 2 or 3 games, and then you've got Air and beat them, and all of a sudden, you're getting a bit further in the cup, and you're a game closer to hand, and that may attract fans to then come get that season ticket or come to more games and that. So it is a good sort of fixture to have. Plus, it's the Ayrshire derby at the end of the day, so an opportunity to rub noses up people at your work or people next door to you or whoever. I think there's that many Air fans, but it's a great game to have. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that, and really looking forward to the league season as well. Stephen, you touched on Celtic being a tough game, but for the first time in a long time, I actually think like I'm not saying Rangers are going to win the league for a second or whoever. I'm not going to predict that. I'm not going to go down that road, but I just think looking at who Rangers have signed, they look a strong outfit. They've got McInnes, who knows the league. They've signed some good players. We can't deny that. That know the league as well. And you're looking at Celtic, and they're not happy. The fans aren't happy. There's lots of player rumours of players leaving. They're not signing anyone. I think they've signed 1 player so far. I think it's the perfect time to be playing Celtic at home on our pitch as well. The new pitch. It's going to be a big crowd in there. First home game of the season for us. Yeah, I do fancy us to nick a point against Celtic. I don't think they're there to be scared about anymore. I think McCann will be itching to get one over them, especially after that defeat, and where we absolutely dominated that first half or first 60 minutes. We were 2-0 up, and then obviously we ended up losing. But I think what McCann has shown in the big games, even Rangers when we got gobbled 5-1, if it wasn't for that sending off. We played really well, and we're very unfortunate on how that collapse ended. But I do feel McCann has got that sort of no fear attitude going into these games again, and it's not a free hit anymore. So honestly, I'm looking forward to that Celtic game when it comes around to it as well. But obviously, before we play Celtic, we have got St Johnstone at home first of all. So St Johnstone, we'll have a sort of preview about that. And I'm thinking they're going to be a bit of a surprise this season. I think the Valakari plays some attractive football for them. I think they won the championship at a canter. Obviously, they got knocked out the League Cup, as you mentioned, and they'll be itching to put that right on the first game back. So it will be a tough game, but I do fancy us to get something there. What's your feelings going into that game, Stephen?
Yeah, as you say, Valakari, he's done a decent job, and in reality, they're both stuck with him. for him to, come back up, which he's done, and as you say, done pretty well. Probably similar to us when we went down, they probably kept the wage structure the same to make sure that the players were, going to get back up. So that possibly had a factor. I can't say that for actual fact, but I would assume that would be the case. Yeah, a wee bit of an unknown package for us because obviously we haven't watched a huge amount of them. You look at their cup stuff against Morton, Lithgow Rose and Inverness Cali and stuff, and as you say, going out, getting beaten penalties and whatever. But yeah, I think there'll be a wee bit of an unknown quantity to us to start off with, and maybe it'd be interesting. I don't know if they're at full strength or whether they're looking at signings as well before Saturday sort of thing. But we go with. I mean, if we go with pretty much a similar lineup to we had against Peterhead, I don't see why we'd have any much in the way of issues against St Johnstone, to be fair.
Yeah, I think the only issue, I think the team sort of maybe speaks for itself nearly with a lot of players. I think David on our group chat mentioned that you could probably name your first 6 players in sort of forward positions and in the midfield area. It's probably more your defence, how he's going to structure that with the right back area. I mean, I like Brandon as a player. I think he's really good in terms of his attributes and what he offers to the team and what type of player he is from when he was at Livingston. But I just feel as though his Kilmarnock career has been a stop-start and he's never been had that opportunity to have a run of games for Kilmarnock fans to judge him. So I think the jury's still out on him. He's obviously lacking probably a bit of fitness with the injuries he's had. Probably got rushed back too soon last season as well, which hampered his progression and maybe coming back at a crucial time. So it will be interesting to see how he plays that position because he obviously likes to play Larson on that left back, but we know we can play it right back. I suppose it all depends on if this left back comes in from Germany or whether he maybe looks at Eric Ring. And I think I mentioned it the other night in our group chat about how Eric Ring sort of maybe looks at playing that sort of position as McCann did with Finlay Curtis and as Derek did with Danny Armstrong with that inverted right sort of wing back position. I don't know. But what's your thoughts, Laurie, about Brandon and about how we may set up in defence?
Yeah, I think you made Brandon first and foremost. I'm like you with Martin. I think he's a good solid pro who's been there, knows the league, has his job. I mean, I do think he's very much a squad player who has been unfortunate with knee injuries, etc. Although he was very rash in the Elgin game, but that's what history. Let's erase that. 'Cause I think he's had a lot of a bit of a bad rap off Kelly fan after that. Let's erase that, right? I mean, move on from the red card incident. And I think personally, he's a solid player, but I think he's going to be here to be a squad player. But I think he understands that, with the likes of the new German guy, with obviously Sean Larson, and playing Eric Ring. Eric Ring to me seems like a right wild card because I was under the impression that he was like a winger who can maybe play like attacking mid. But then when you watch him, he's a winger who can maybe go back the way, as you say, almost like Danny Armstrong-esque, or in fairness, what Neil McCann tried with Finlay Curtis a little bit.
He always swapped Finlay Curtis in the second half, didn't he? He always played him on that right side and then swapped him in the second half in a lot of games.
Yeah.
But it worked wonders. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen that clip. He scored a goal for Lincoln against Salford in the FA Cup, and he was on the right hand side, and he basically skinned past like 3 defenders and hit it with his left foot. So when I seen that, I instantly thought of like Danny Armstrong vibes, like you said. The way he's that no fear, just wants to run at players, and you don't get enough of those players at times. Proper out and out players that just want to run, proper wingers. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see where his best position is. But he does look an exciting player from what I've seen on clips and highlights, and it is certainly one to look out for. But I do feel as though we are that, as already mentioned, short in that sort of centre back area as well. Robbie Dees for me turned around and had a decent season in the end. He had a bit of a blip, but he's a solid pro. He's good at he's limited to what he can do in defence, but I feel as though he was a very important player towards back end of last season. And for me, Robbie Dees, is a good. He can sometimes be a bit rash, and pick up a bit a stupid booking or whatever. That's probably a downside of his game. Probably misreads a challenge or a tackle or whatever. But the other position, you've got Stanger, and then you've got Schulte Brown. Stanger's got potential. Schulte Brown, you've got potential, but that's where we're sort of, I think, missing that. There's just a centre half that just wants to put his head on things and boot it away. And it's a bit like Gogic.
I think quickly, Gogic, or even I think what Stephen mentioned. Obviously, he's in his first team coach now. Cut Broadfoot, right? So when we first signed Kirk, what was he like? 31, 32, like when Lee McCulloch signed him. A guy of that sort of ilk would be perfect.
So I think, Stephen, like you said, I think we will be maybe missing one or two players for the first few games until that window ends, because obviously there's going to be players still floating about. Maybe players are looking to sign others from other teams, and it's about that sort of domino effect. So it may be a case of we're not going to get anyone until the last sort of week of the window or the last day of the window, but we may just get one in before St Johnstone. But I agree. I think we'll be a similar lineup. Laurie, would you say Stanger starts or Schulte Brown alongside these?
Yeah, Stanger would probably be my preference, because I'm actually going to give Stanger a little bit of credit based on something that I saw on Tuesday night against Aki's. He was very, very talkative with the rest of the back line, his teammates. He was actually talking Eric Ring through the game as well, actually. He was actually I'm not criticising Robbie Dees here, because he did that a bit more in the second half, but he was actually being more communicative than what the captain was. I don't know whether it's just something that I don't often spot, because at Beechwood Park, the home of Morecambe Talbot, I was actually sat right down the front, side on, so you could actually hear every word of some of these players, whether it be Stanger, whether it be Callum Ferry and goal, actually, who you mentioned earlier on, Stephen. He sounded fairly commanding, I've got to say. The fact Stanger was orchestrating people through the game. He wasn't perfect himself, but sometimes you like defenders like that rather than the ones that stay quiet and make you be a mind reader. I think we were with it Kelly Dundee last season, where I think it was maybe Mayo and Kel Roos didn't communicate, or was it Dees maybe, and it avoids stuff like that.
Dees, yeah.
I think the main thing is going into St Johnstone is that usually in seasons gone by, Kilmarnock are like, oh, what's our identity? How are we going to play? What are we expecting? Is it, whereas the only season I felt as though we knew what we were doing was giving it to Danny Armstrong and Matty Kennedy out wide, getting it to the wingers, getting balls into the box and feeding the likes of Watkins and Vassell to score. For me, that 23-24 season was the only sort of season I felt as though there was any sort of identity in there in a while. We sort of fumbled along the way in previous seasons. This season, I feel as though I can see the identity a lot better with that diamond. It's just obviously the phases of play looking a lot better. We look like we're playing attacking football, moving it nicely along the ground. We're not playing as much hoofball. We're looking to play a bit of both. And that's going to be the risk and reward in terms of we're going to hopefully be scoring a lot of goals, but may leave us short at the back. But it's about getting that fine balance and fine tuning that during games and that. But it's certainly exciting to watch last season, and I think it'll be a bit of the same going into this season as well. I think if you look at the spine of the team, that's like any team. As long as you've got a good spine going into the season, you can build on it and change positions and that. And if you look at that, you've got Stryak in goal, you've got Robbie Dees as your main centre half, you've got Tish Bowler in the middle, and then you've got Hugel up top. Your four of a spine may be different, but in terms of that's your sort of logistics of your spine really. And then you can build around that. And I do feel as though, you've got great players around it. I think our bench looks a bit stronger as well. So we've got some good options going into it. And as you touched on, Laurie, earlier on, it is all about quality over quantity. And going into St Johnstone, I'm really looking forward to basically just the start of the season. I would, if you said to me right now, what would you want? Obviously, we all want to win, but I'll take a draw. Take a draw right now, going into that Celtic game, because because the worst thing that can happen is getting a defeat and then you're up against it. But even getting a point on the board is a sign it gives you that confidence to build on for the next game. Would you agree on that, Laurie, or do you feel that a win is achievable first game of the season?
Well, I feel a win is definitely achievable, but I totally get what you're saying about so long as we don't lose, get a point in the boat, a solid start. I think it's back to what I said earlier on about it depends what the atmosphere at McDiarmid Park's like. Is it going to be a big party atmosphere with them unfurling the flag and all the focus is on them and you may be thinking it would roll all right, depending how it plays out. But I kind of think they're there for the taking because we were talking earlier on, and Stephen, you mentioned about Simo Balakari, who has done a very good job. But I kind of wonder whether his style of football at St Johnstone is actually sustainable. Because I remember he had them playing relatively well when they went down in that sort of manner, but they appointed too late. He obviously played that way in the Championship, got them up as one of the biggest sides, a bit like we were. But then, is he able to play like that across an entire season at the Premiership level? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that is sustainable. So I would try and go at them. I think, in fairness to Sky Sports, who are broadcasting all of the games this coming weekend, I think our game could be a good one for goal scoring potentially, even though we have looked rather profligate so far this season, because I think it could almost be attack versus attack with the way Neil McCann set up.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Well, I mentioned earlier, I think we'll be more expansive. I think the games will be more open anyway because they're not going to be sitting back. St Johnstone aren't going to be sitting back anyway. No team going to sit back in the Premier League unless you may be away at Celtic or Rangers and that. There's a different game plan, but the majority of the games you're going to be going into this, and there's no reason why St Johnstone shouldn't think they can beat us. But then we should be thinking exactly the same as well. We should be able to go there. I think we've won 2 of our last 3 there. I was at the last game where we won 2-0. We have a decent record up there. So yeah, I'm confident we can get a 1-0 win. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win. And I'm going to go for Joe Hugel as well. Can I not go for Joe Hugel? So I'm going to go for him to score our goal. But Stephen, what's your thoughts going into the game? Do you feel as though there's still a bit of positivity, even though we've lacked of goals? Do you feel that we can still go there and get that win?
Absolutely. No, I think we can win the game. I think it'll be a tight affair, but no, I would go for 2-1 for us. John Jones and Tyrese to get on the score sheet. I don't think it'll be a lot in the game. I don't think it'll be definitely not be free flowing and loads of goals. I don't think, but I fancy they'll probably score. As Laurie says, there'll be a bit of furore with some of their fans coming along with a flag and all that kind of thing. But no, I think we can do enough. And I've taken 2 strikers to get off the mark for us. So yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 for Kelly.
Do you feel the kickoff time changes the dynamics of it and being a Sunday, or do you feel that it just doesn't really matter?
No, I mean, again, probably gives you a wee bit more preparation, doesn't it, as well? So particularly if we do make a couple of signings like tomorrow or midweek kind of thing, and gives you some of that if they're featuring then to be in the lineup kind of thing. And there's been short turnaround as well for the cup just kind of finishing there. So I don't think it'll make a huge deal of difference.
No, fair enough. That's a valid point. I suppose the extra day definitely gives us that extra day to look at tactics and how we're going to play and whatnot. But Laurie, so what's your prediction then?
I'm going to go for a slightly scarier sounding prediction to almost back up what I said about the whole attack versus attack thing. I'm going to say we're going to win 3-2. And again, like Stephen, I think both centre forwards, of course, Joe and Tyrese are going to get off the mark. I think our third goal scorer will be Rashawn Maffrin, who has impressed in flashes, I was saying, what was seen in pre-season in the League Cup, despite having his penalty saved against Peterhead.
Poor penalty, wasn't it?
It was, to be fair.
I reckon what we should do is I'll jot these scores down afterwards, and I think we should have a tally, and we'll see who wins at the end of the season.
Are you buying the first round?
I'd never buy the first round. I'm an Englishman. Never buy the first round. So, and I tell you what, when I'm at Kilmarnock next week, there with all 3 of us there in attendance,
yeah,
as I've already mentioned, it's my birthday on Tuesday. It's my 40th. Yeah. Just a wee drink would be nice. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Bold as brass, eh? Bold as brass. I know. But talking to Kilmarnock, we're all going to be there. Going to be exciting. Just want to give a shout out to Cal and Monty there. Fantastic what they do with the podcast themselves. Been doing it for a long time now, and KillyCon 2 is going to be fantastic. Looking forward to it. Was there last year with yourself, Stephen. Laurie, you'll be there as well this year, so it's going to be good. So big shout out to them, and a massive good luck as well. I hope you absolutely smash it as you did last year. So big shout out to them. Also want to shout out Alan Agnew as well, who messaged earlier on. Just said he was in at the Commonwealth Games, so he wasn't going to be able to catch us on the live, which is probably good because Laurie had some technical issues, and which meant we were 10 minutes late. But if you're listening, you wouldn't know that happened, so I'll just open my mouth now. So, but no, it's good to be back. Is there any well wishes, anything you want to shout out to there, Stephen? I know the ladies you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I always want to big up the ladies. It'd be rude not to. So fine win today in the cup. So 2-0. Cara Gray got one, and Louise Cowan. So Louise Cowan got it just before half time, 43 minutes, and then Cara scored in the 54th minute. Good to Laura and the team getting off to a bit of a flyer. They appear to have a few signings which seem younger as well, sort of thing. So a wee bit of an exclusive. We will have Laura coming up to give us our thoughts on just missing out last season and promotion. We'll get we'll not make it too painful for her, but we'll get her to give us a wee dissection on that, and then how things are going to be moving forward. Just a slight one that I noticed as well, because obviously we haven't get mainly the buildings in place in the first phase of the training facilities. Then the girls are not actually playing there to start with, so until the second phase, i.e. changing facilities are there, then they're not going to be playing their games at the new facility. So they're on the road for a wee while to start with. I think it'll be confirmed as to how many games that is, but certainly the first 3 or 4 are going to be elsewhere. But well done to Laura and the girls today. Fantastic to get off to winning ways. So well done. So that's about me. I'll leave my Kelly Trust stuff to bore you with that another time.
well, just before I mentioned the women's, right? So James Morrison, who listens regularly when we were on previously, he actually I put Owen an apology when I see him after the Argentina-England game. Say no more. So after the 2-0 win over Bournemouth Thistle, does Stephen think Jim Chapman will be happy? What's your thoughts, Stephen?
Yeah, well, Jim Chapman, yeah. Now, there's a man that I'd struggle to get a drink out of as well. He's a hard man to please. I do remember last season then when some of his interviews when they were winning 5-0 and whatever, and he was coming on and saying the girls just need to do a wee bit more, and he's just not, he's not happy. In general, it sets a high standard. But listen, let's hope that he can get them going, and let's hope this year's the year that they can get it over the line and get up to the big time. Hopefully, help with the new facility. Hopefully, so.
Yeah, no, and just looking forward to the new season starting now properly in the league. It's going to be good. Just want to actually say a shout out to one of our friends as well, Alan. Mr. Happy Chappy. But no, he is a happy chappy because he obviously got engaged recently, didn't he? Big congratulations. Someone has finally found the effort to put up with you for life, so well done. No, I'm only joking. Really chuffed for you, mate, and look forward to seeing you during the course of the season, and looking forward to our regular chats on the group chat. And there was one thing I was going to mention, and I slipped. Oh, that was it. Talking to Kelly Trust. So obviously, there's the Q&A tomorrow. Neil McCann, which I'm going to attend, and that. So it'd be interesting to see what he has to say. So if any of you are there, it'd be great to see you guys and say hello. Anyone that's been listening and is back listening to the 3 of us, unlucky, feel for you. But no, I hope you've enjoyed it. We are making that conscious effort to make it within the hour, so we're not boring you to death. So hopefully we have just nailed it at 59 minutes here so far. So pretty good going for the first episode back. But for now, as we always used to say, Mon the Kelly.